Hey, what's going on everybody? John here with my first real YouTube video that I've really ever put together about cars. It's something I've wanted to do for a while, and I don't see any way other than just to jump in and start making some content. So I purchased a 2007 Ford Mustang GT 3-valve 5-speed manual, very low mileage, 72,000 recently, and I've had it for a few weeks, gone through, detailed it up, put a few mods on. It was pretty much all stock, which is what I was looking for, and the parking brake broke. So that'll be a whole video coming soon. I haven't really seen a video that goes into all in depth, and I've had just about every problem under the sun as I've uncovered what was going on. But in the process of that, I ended up finding that because the parking brake seized on my car, among other things, it fried the rear brake pads on the passenger side. So I decided to make a little video showing the best I can right now how simple it is to change the brake pads on your car, because I pretty much did a brake pad change when I went in to try to figure out what was going on with the parking brake. So it's very simple. I hope you guys like the video and get something out of it. I know for me, one of the things that I am very passionate about is trying to share information as I've learned it over the years. I don't pretend to be some master mechanic, but at the same time, I've become very knowledgeable on how to work on cars. And I think you can be way money ahead by knowing how to do brakes, tire rotations, oil changes, belts and hoses, and some minor suspension work. And so I think the more that I can try to share and share what I've known, it'll hopefully give back to someone like I've been given to over all these years now, 10, 12 years of working on my own stuff, and help someone save some money, become a better car enthusiast in terms of mechanical ability. So hope you enjoy the video. And here she is. Really just a pretty car, very happy with it. It was well maintained, but obviously as we're about to dive into the video, we're going to be doing some work on the brakes. So the first part of doing your rear brakes on these cars is to get the car jacked up and supported on jack stands. I always like to leave the jack under the pumpkin, and then it's a matter of taking off your lug nuts. So let's do that right now. So your lug nuts could be a 21 millimeter. I've already got them pretty much off, so I'm just going to wrench them right off here. And it's really that easy. You know, then you just want to get the tire and wheel the tire out of the way. So, to begin the brake job, you're going to want to remove the caliper itself from the bracket. So all that is a 13 millimeter socket, 2 bolts, and these connect to your slide pins. So your slide bolts, so you just want to loosen those right up. You got 2 of them, one top, one down. Just find sometimes it's faster just to take them out by hand. Whoops. Set those aside, and then bam! Look at that, your caliper is already off. Caliper is already off. So these brakes are a little different than certain vehicles. I'm used to trucks, and there's a couple of differences. On the Mustangs, and this will go in depth with my parking brake video, but on the parking brake is actually controlled by the caliper itself. It is not handled by a hat on the rotor itself. On my F-150 actually has a raised section on the rotor. So on the F-150, this is a raised hat, and inside is a drum brake system that actually presses out on the rotor, and that's what engages your parking brake. On the Mustang, it's actually built into the caliper. That's what this is here, this whole unit. And then each side has a cable, and I'll go into more in depth on that. But on these cars, you actually need to turn down the pistons when you go to reset your brakes, and I'll walk you through that with the tool. So now you've got your brake pads exposed, and they literally just pull out. And I'll show you this quickly, and I'll cover it in the video. These are heat damaged. There are actually a lot of material left, as you can see, but they're heat damaged because the parking brake seized, and the owner had no idea. So I'm just pad slapping this on both sides. The other side's perfectly fine. But I am just going to replace the pads, and I have a future upgrade in a few months that I'm going to do, which will involve changing the rotor. But for right now, I'm just simply going to replace the brake pads. And it's very, very simple to do. What I decided to go with was the Powerstop Extreme Z26 carbon fiber ceramic pads, and it's part number, if we can get that in there, Z26 1082. And I've had good luck with these products on my truck. I've been running them for I think over 10,000 miles now. I have the whole kit, including calipers, pads, and drilled and slotted rotors on my truck. And I'm really happy with them. There is a bed-in procedure, which you do need to follow, and they give you that information right here. You do need to follow this. It is important, and that's how you properly seat the pads. But it's really not a big deal. It just takes a few minutes. You really want to do it where it's not busy, so that you can slow the vehicle down. So let's get into this. All right. So there's a special tool that you need to use when you're turning in brake calipers. You can't really do the C-clamp method with these cars. It's a good way to damage the piston. You get these tools, which I'll link below. And essentially what it is you're taking the end of the tool has these two nubs on it, and those adapt to the different plates that are provided. And so you're looking for the plate adapter. It's going to have two nubs on one side, and it's going to have holes on it that fit to this tool. And so the whole goal here, I'm hoping you can see this. The way this works, I can give you some light. So if you look on the piston, there's these indents here and here. And that's what you're using this part of the tool for. So these two nubs fit inside of those nubs, the indents on the piston. And what that does is the main part of the tool then sits inside here, and then it pushes out on the edge of the caliper so that it has so it doesn't move, and then you turn the handle like a clamp, and what you're doing is you're turning in the piston. So I'll see if this works. I apologize if it's not the best lighting, but it's how you're going to do these brakes. And it's really very simple. I had never done it before until this car, but it works quite well. So the adapter piece that you get, this large piece, this is what actually seats it, the tool, inside the caliper. So there's this rounded end, and if you look, the caliper itself is rounded on the outside. So you're going to put it in that follows the contour. So you're going to want to put this through the tool. Okay, this piece here, okay, it looks like a giant socket with threaded. This is what you're using to push this plate out onto the caliper so that the tool doesn't move. It's basically allowing you to tighten it so that you can then turn the caliper and the whole tool isn't moving around. So you're probably going to have to loosen the tool up a little bit. You just do that by screwing it, you know, whatever way you need. And you're going to sit it in here. Make sure the adapter is on. Make sure the rounded edge follows the contour of the caliper. Okay, and so now what you need to do is you need to turn out the tool, and because we need to put pressure on that plate. Okay, it's fully seated. There it goes. Okay, so now the tool doesn't want to move, which is what we want, because now we can actually turn the handle. So we want to turn, and we're turning clockwise, and it's pushing the caliper in, the piston in. And what you're going to have to do is that's going to cause this tool to loosen up, so you need to turn this part again. And what you're doing is you're looking for it to be straight up and down. So I can see that right at the top here where my hand is, that's where the nub is right now, the indent. So I'll just go right there. Now, when the caliper is like this, each indent is up and down, which is what we want. So I can take out my tool, and hopefully that makes sense. That's really all there is to using that. I just want to make one quick correction on the indents on the brake caliper piston. I incorrectly had them 90 degrees off. If you look in this picture I've attached, you'll see the nubs going up and down, like looking through the hole in the top of the caliper. You want those that way because there's nubs on the back of the brake pads, and that's actually what they sit in. So that's just a correction I want to make. So this is a good opportunity to take a little bit of the grease. Just put it right on those brackets, just a little bit. And the goal here is it's just corrosion. It's so that the surface is not all dry. Just putting that right on those brackets where the pads are going to sit. Don't need to go overboard. Just a little bit. That's really all you need. So then we're going to open our brake pads. And again, you have a pair for each side of the back of the car. These are them here. And what you want to do is you want to make sure, the goal here is that these springs are what the caliper shoves down on and keeps them in set. Just making sure. And those will go on the other side. So you want the rounded part going out on the top. And that's it. I mean, they literally just pop in like that. That's it. Put some light in there so you can see. They literally just sit right in. You can see where I put the grease. And so that gives it a good surface. They're seated in, they're up next to the rotor, and as you can see, it follows the contour of the rotor, which is exactly what you want. And so now at this point, you're going to do the reverse. You're going to turn. You've already done your caliper. It clears, no problem. Now, when you go to reassemble, there's an area worth noting. On your pin here, your slide bolts, if you look, there is a flat section right here. This flat section needs to go with the flat section of the caliper. If you see that right here. So when you go to put this in, just trying to hold the light so you can actually see. When you push it in, you want to have that lined up. And like I said, you want to put a little bit of grease, just a dab of grease on your bolt. Just keep everything lubricated. Okay. And that's it. It's honestly that simple to remove and change the brakes on an S197. The main difference for me right now is this mechanism right here. This is what controls the parking brake, and I have the cable disconnected because mine is bad. So that will be in a future video. Hopefully that helped some of you guys out. Everything back together, wheels back on the car. You want to go inside your vehicle. This applies to anything really with disc brakes, and you're going to want to pump the pedal a few times. 3 to 4 times is probably enough, nice and slow. And typically you can do it also with the engine on. Once it's running, you can do it again, just to make sure you have brake pedal feel in the car, because when you've turned in those brake caliper piston, you've essentially slid them away from the brake pads. And if you start pulling out, and say you pull right out of your driveway or whatever, you're not you're not going to have brakes right away. So that's the first thing you do before you go anywhere, is pump that brake pedal a few times with the engine off and with it on. And then after that, time to do the braking process. Hope that helped you. Thanks again for watching. I appreciate it. I hope to make more of these videos, and I hope you find some value. And that's how I get better, is by making more content for you guys. So thanks for watching. Appreciate it. Subscribe and like the video. Thanks, guys. Talk to you soon.